The Nintendo 64 is the console of my childhood. When I say that, I mean this was one of the first ones that I got. I got a ton of games for it, and I played it quite frequently with me and my dad. So honestly, when it comes to nostalgia for me, the Nintendo 64 is one that I absolutely love to think about and love to play. So we're talking about 7 games from my childhood that I actually owned and played. But we're not going to be talking about any of those big name games. Like, we're not going to talk about Mario, Zelda, or anything like that. But we're going to talk about some games, whether I like them or don't now, that I had in my childhood. To start things off, I want to say, yes, there are a bunch of racing and sports games, because honestly, outside of the mainstream big games, those are kind of the genres that I was interested in when I was a kid, when I was young, because I could play with friends or family, and honestly, that's just kind of how it started. So first off, we've got Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside, and honestly, I really don't mind this game. I played this game like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, oh, this is garbage, I don't like it, I don't know how I could have enjoyed this as a kid. But here in the last like 6 months, I've revisited this game, and I understand why this is a fun game. It's nothing crazy. It is basically a out-of-the-box kind of basic basketball game, but I feel like that's okay. I enjoy it. It's a 3D version of a basketball game, and for what it is, I understand why I played this a ton as a kid. I was into basketball, I was a fan of the LA Lakers, and so it just kind of goes hand in hand at this point, really. And next is a game that probably is a weird one to think about, but Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Now, I didn't like this game because it was a Hot Wheels game, to be honest. I like this game because it's actually a fun racer and is a ton of fun. Like, I played this as a kid, and I played this now, and I still feel this way. This is an underrated Nintendo 64 racing game. It seems like everyone doesn't like to talk about this or doesn't even mention it, but this is one of the best racers that I can think of from the Nintendo 64, and I feel like people often overlook this game. So this one is definitely something from my childhood that's amazing now, but it might be a little bit biased by nostalgia. The next game I have is Mia Hamm Soccer, and I can tell you for a fact I don't know why I bought this game, but I remember actually buying it. I remember going with my parents, going into Toys R Us at the time, and picking this game up. Now honestly, I don't know why I grabbed this game. I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't into soccer as a kid, but I played this game and I actually enjoyed this game. So when I played this today, I understand why I like it. It's again like NBA Courtside with Kobe Bryant. This is a ton of fun. It's pretty much a basic soccer game. It doesn't have anything special, but it's still a solid game to play. And so if you like those old school soccer games, Mia Hamm Soccer is actually a pretty good one. And going along with the racing and sports theme, I've got Monster Truck Madness 64. Now, I love this game, and I love it from back then and now, but I have to preface this. I don't love the racing in this game. That is not why I like this game. I like this game because of all the extra modes. The modes where you can play soccer, you can play hockey, you can play like tag, you can play Summit Rumble, which is basically like a wrestling ring in the middle of the arena, and you have to stay on top as long as you can, and you get points based of it. It's kind of basically a King of the Hill type game. But back in the day, when it was on the Nintendo 64, that was absolutely crazy. And playing that with 4 of your friends and beating the crap out of them, or them beating you, was just so much fun. And I love this game to this day, but the racing really does suck. Next, we're going to talk about NFL Quarterback Club, and I picked 99. Honestly, I think I had 1 or 2 of these. But Brett Favre is on the cover of all of them, so I don't quite remember which one is actually the one I had, because, like, they're basically the same game. But what I'm saying is I actually enjoyed this game as a kid. I liked going out and playing it, and I think this kind of goes along with the other sports games on this list. It's not anything special. It is a sports game that's pretty basic, nothing crazy or over the top. But again, like I said with Kobe Bryant and being on the Lakers at the time, I was a big fan of Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre, and he was on the cover for like 4 or 5 years of this game. So I definitely had it in my collection, and I played this a ton, either with friends or by myself. And honestly, I enjoyed this as a kid. It doesn't hold up well now, obviously, but it's a cheap game, so you could pick it up and at least play it and have some fun. And then next game is something that I absolutely loved, and that is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Now, everyone calls this Pod Racer. It's just Racer, so call it that. But I love this game. It's so much fun. They even remade this and released it on the Nintendo Switch, and that is awesome. And realistically, this is a fun game. If you're into Star Wars, or like I was as a kid, into racing games, this is one that actually holds up. Now, I do prefer the remaster nowadays because the foreground and the background on this game blend in so much because you're going fast, and it's just, it's hard to figure out what is what at times, and so that is why I prefer the remake. But honestly, this is still a solid game. It has some cool repair abilities, and everything about this game is just so much fun. And it's Star Wars, like, you can't go wrong there. The last game we have to talk about is the game I played absolutely the most as a kid, and probably one of my most played games now, and that's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Now, yes, I had the first one, and then I got the second one, but honestly, I don't know why, but this is my favorite Tony Hawk game. Now, I'm not talking bad about the first one. It's amazing too, but this one just had everything for it. It was all the characters I wanted. It had all the songs I wanted. The skate parks were awesome. Everything about this was actually amazing, and this game is actually pretty cheap still now to this day. So this is one of those games I had to talk about because I played it back when, and I loved it, and I still love it to this day. They did remaster this for 1 and 2 put together and put it on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And they were talking about doing it for the Switch. I don't know if that actually ever happened. But this game is a ton of fun, and I feel like it's an overdone game that people probably talk about it a lot. But for me, this is what got me into punk music. This is what got me interested in skating. This is such a fun game. I absolutely loved it. And it was one of those games that was always a staple and was probably either always in my Nintendo 64 or not that far from it. Those were games from my childhood on the Nintendo 64 that I played frequently. I know it was just 7, and there's a ton of other games, and I had a hard time limiting it down to this, but as a kid, honestly, if it wasn't a main story game like Zelda or Mario Kart or something like that, I probably didn't play it, and I played games like this as a kid, so I wanted to share that with you. I know it's probably different than some people's childhood. Everyone's gonna have different games, but I felt like I should bring that to you and let you know kind of where I started and what Nintendo 64 games led to all the Nintendo 64 games that I have that I absolutely love and love to play. So that's all I've got for you guys. See you later.